Hello, welcome back. As always, only make videos if something to say. So today we are going to talk a little bit and show you an issue I have with a new DJI Flip drone. At the end, I might say something what I think about this drone because otherwise people will ask it in the comments. But I want to show also for the people at DJI the problem that I have with the battery charger. It's always better to show it than to just explain it. But in concept, I don't think the charging of the dual battery is actually working correctly. At least in the case that I'm going to show you, hopefully. Maybe it's just that my batteries need to be updated or the new firmware still needs to be released. I have no idea because I'm assuming that also for this camera the batteries can get an update or the charger even in fact. But I noticed yesterday that when I was charging after a few flights that it was not actually charging both batteries at the same time. Not only that, it was charging very slow, basically trickle charging one battery and not even trying to charge the second battery, which was way lower. So I stopped charging until now. I could make this video. Hopefully it will still be the same issue and we can show you and explain what's going on. So I will be using a big power bank, which is capable and showing us what it's being sent, how many watts is being sent, and it's capable to doing, I think, 140 watts. So that's not the issue. Um, Also, the cable, I will use the official cable and a not official cable, the one that's been with it, to see if that make a change. I doubt it will, but yeah, let's get going. So let me hook up the power charger and show you what's going on. So I'm doing that a bit off screen. So I'm plugging in the charger and we should see some lights blinking. Now we actually don't see some lights blinking because that's part of the problem, because I expected this to be start blinking, but we only see that the other side is blinking. I also swap position, so I could do that, by the way. Let me just do that to make it easier to film. So I tried different variations, but you can now see on this side that this battery is being charged, but this one doesn't. So which is already an issue because they say you can charge two at a time. But what's more interesting, if we go to the heads-up camera, let me get the correct display. I should make the display a little bit higher. So there it is. So let me go to the top view. You can see it's only charging at 6 watts. You see? Which is a 4.5. So it's definitely finishing up this battery. So charging this battery, but not charging this one, which is should be able to do way more wattage. And see what happens if I take this one out. It now starts detecting this one at some point. There it goes. And you can see that the wattage, because this power bank is more than capable of doing this, you can see that it will slowly probably go to about 40 watts. Let's wait for a second because it might need to warm up a bit. So, but I can promise you it will over time start charging more. And this is of course kind of weird what is happening. Not sure why this is happening, but you would now expect, and of course I did that by plugging now in this battery, that maybe, okay, maybe it's the order is different or something. But actually when I plug this one back in, which is, like I said, at the end of its charging cycle, it will actually only detect that one and then stop charging the other one. So I will put it in now. So there it's in. Oh, it's not in. Now it's in. You can see the side view again, that both of them, you can already see. Of course, now it does not show me the bug. Now it's charging both at the same time. Maybe it will stop, but although we have an interesting new sort of problem, we can see that it now still claims that it's charging both, kind of. But you can see the wattage going down. It didn't do that yesterday. Yesterday it just didn't charge this one. So I'm suspecting if I charge them, start them both at the same time, which we saw in the beginning. Let me take this out and start the whole process from new. So put in the cable. It's stinking. Now the first one is blinking. I have no idea. I guess that means it's charging, but it's only charging in a 4.5 watts. So I will wait a few seconds to see if it sort of ramps up, which is what you expect. I'm not that upset, or I don't think it's a bug that it first need to figure out what's going on and it takes a few seconds to charge up. But I don't think it will. I think it will just sort of keep trickle charging the second battery, which is almost full, and stop charging the one that's empty. Although it is blinking now, kind of indicating that it's charging, but I don't think it is. So if I remove the full one again, in fact, let me remove both of the full ones, or semi-full and the full one, which I've now done. As you can see, only the empty one is in, and you can see right away it starts jumping to about 24 watts. And if I leave it, it will go up once it warms up a tiny bit. And I've seen it with one battery, I think at 40 watts, if I remember correctly. So let me use the official cable, or the one that came with it. I've not used it yet because I normally never use that, but I got it out of the package and I will add it in now. So here we go. It still signals that it's quick charging, and it goes to 15 watts. I'm guessing it will also go to 24 and stay there for a while, as you can see. And once it gets a little bit more warm, then it will probably go up. But like I said, you expect it if you put in all three batteries, which are now one full, one almost full, and the one that's kind of empty. Let me put it down and plug it in. You see it drops right away to basically only trickle charge the one in the back. It signals that it's full, as you can see. The one here is still being trickle charged. So basically it's almost done charging, and I'm guessing that's the only battery is now actively charging at 3 watts. And this one, it just sort of stopped charging. So in my opinion, that's a bug. I will post it in the forums and see if that is something that somebody else has noticed. Because this one is quite bad in that if you don't notice this, then it's basically now charging one really slow. So if you're out there flying and you want to do this in your bag or whatever, it will probably eventually, if this one is signaled as full, I'm assuming it will start charging that one at full speed. But now it's basically only putting in about 1.5 watts at the moment, even because indeed, like I said, the one is almost done. But until that's done, you're charging at an extremely slow sort of speed, and not at the 40 or 50 watts, which is basically what it's capable of doing. So, a bug, in my opinion. So I will report this to DJI, and they can look at it. But it is probably, until we figure out what's up here, it's probably smart to only charge one battery at a time if you're in a hurry. Let me say it like this. It's probably best if you really want to, let's say, rotate during flight. It's probably best to just put one battery in, because at least then we know for sure that it's trying to do it at a full speed. Again, it's now limiting. Oh, it's going to 25, so you can see that the battery is warming up. So probably if we wait a little bit more, it will go up to a higher value. So we will leave it charging, and we'll check it at the end when we will now sort of talk a tiny bit about, because I think people will ask what I think about the drone. I think there should be a place for it. Let me say it like this. I have a Neo also, which I just want to use it to maybe sometimes take a video shot, but most of the time just to take a picture. And I like the ideas of taking pictures of places where you normally can't really get it, like a flying tripod, if that makes sense, or a flying action cam. You can just put it somewhere on an angle and take a picture. The problem with the Neo that the quality of the pictures was not good enough, which I guess makes sense. It's not what it was aimed for. And with this one, which has a bigger sensor, basically the same sensor as the Mini 4 Pro or an Action Cam 5, which is kind of the same sensor. It can put it in 48 megapixels raw pictures, and you can just take a picture, and it looks okay. It's not like a flying full frame camera, but it's a pretty nice sort of picture that you can work with. For me, the Mini Pro, so the 4 Mini Pro, for example, or basically the other minis, was too much of a drone. And maybe that is a little bit weird, but if you look at the design, I think the fact that you have this sort of guards, that if I am flying it near an object, I will just slowly want to move it to take a picture, and I bump into something, the chances that I have some damage to my drone is very small. It will just bump to something on the side if it doesn't detect it, and then sort of either move back like the Neo is doing, or it will drop to the ground and probably no harm is done. Also, when I'm near other people, I just know that it's not to me and to the people around me, there's less of a danger that I somewhat hurt them. So that is for me enough reason to think that the Flip should earn its place, if that makes sense. It's also a little bit cheaper, but I don't think, I can totally see that people will say, hey, if the minis are that much better, then I will use that. So from the reason why I think it's getting a lot of negative press is because people reviewing it at the moment are mostly already in one of these camps. They're either in the FPV camp, where the Neo supports FPV mode, so you can use the goggles, and you see also most of the reviewers already have the goggles, and they take that as part of their review, if that makes sense, because it's a nice, fun drone that you can also use in that mode. This one doesn't, like the Mini doesn't. But for the Mini, of course, people have been using that for years, and they are more into also making videos, and they totally accept that you have to spend more time putting it up in the air and sort of being careful with flying around a bit more, because and that you don't hurt yourself or others. I think that's kind of an accepted thing for them. While there's a big group, including me, that mostly want to use it for pictures, maybe sometimes a little bit of video if wanted or needed. But we are much more comfortable with something, in my opinion, like the Flip, just putting it in the air, but having a better camera. It's basically a Neo with a better camera, and I'm living in the Netherlands. It might also give me a tiny bit more of wind resistance, although it's not as good as the other ones. So I think and I hope that this format will survive, because I think it's a nice in between. But it has to fight for its own place in the lineup, because I think at the moment the two groups, so the ones who want to fly with the goggles are in a different sort of group. They like the Neo because it's a cheap sort of extra thing they can fly and have fun with. I also think that the people with the bigger drones are not going to be a massive supporter of this format. But I do think there's a group in between, like me, who just want to put it up, maybe take a picture, maybe take a few video shots and be done with it. And then it's, I think, a very, very interesting drone. I do think that DJI should consider going all in this format. So, for example, I like that it shoots raw pictures, of course. That's one of the things I was looking for. But what I then don't like is that if you want to do panorama, because this is 24 megapixels, and you might want to get a bit wider shot, so it can do panorama shots, which is fine, but it only does that in JPEG. Now, I understand that maybe the processing internally could not be totally handled on the phone or on the controller, and then turn it into a more high pixel or wider raw file. But I think at least it should help me take the pictures, because now I have the option to either go to JPEG, which I don't want to do, and because if I do, it will take multiple pictures and do the automatic sort of lineup for me, or I have to do it by hand. So now I need to do it by hand because I want to do it in RAW. So at least allow me to take these 6 pictures or 8 pictures or whatever you decide to do in RAW mode, and then of course I need to handle them by myself, but at least have the options. Now for safety, most of the time I take a picture, go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right if I want to have a little bit more wider view, and take 2 extra shots, but I'm basically doing now the panorama myself. So if you want to help photographers, I think that's a good thing. The same with maybe having multiple exposures, so to get the noise level down, or getting because it's moving a tiny bit anyway. So maybe also to get more resolution, it would be a good idea that you also support it in RAW and not just in JPEG. The other thing which I think is missing, which the Neo does support, which I find kind of weird, because I'm wondering why it's not in there. You can only track people and you can't track objects. And the Neo can do that, so that's weird to me anyway. And the only logic that I can see is maybe that they don't want you to follow cars and then somehow the drone flies away from you because it's following the car, etc., etc. So maybe they turn that off. But the downside for that is that if I want to find a nice angle on a picture, so let's say I'm focusing in on a tower, right? A tower is round, bad example. Let's say a building, but I want to be just at a certain angle aligned with the building. So now I have to sort of, I can't select the building and then sort of fly around it. I have to basically first fly around it and then aim myself basically at the building to see if it's correct. It would be very helpful if you can still select an object, not to sort of track it, but simply to be able to quicker find the angle where you want to take the picture. So I think that the function should be returned just to make that easier. And I think if they are thinking about the Flip, maybe think a little bit more in what photographers might want, and not only what video people might want, because they might be more inclined to go to the Mini anyway. So that's my view on the camera itself, on the Flip itself. So I'm enjoying it. I've had it for 2 days now, and yeah, I've been flying around with it a bit. It's quite cold, but it's doing its job. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm hoping that this beginning of this video helps people at DJI to see what my bug is in the battery chargers, or be a warning to other people to keep an eye on this until they fixed it, and it really does dual battery charges. Let's see what the battery is doing at the moment. And as expected, just so that people know that indeed the battery is running at 43 watts. So the charging is going quite fast. But you will see that if I plug in, now I don't remember which one is the full battery, but let me first plug this one in. It will of course stop charging a bit. Oh, this is the full one, and it detects it right away, and you can see, which is nice, it continued charging at 42 watts. But if I put the other one in, it will probably drop away. Now both of them are considered full. So it's good that I did the test, by the way. So let me put both of them in. If that is true, because I would have expected it would drop back to about 5 watts. And that's why it was important I was making this video. Let me check with the other cable just to make sure that we have excluded everything. But I think we now hit the point where both batteries are full. And let's see how quickly it ramps up. 3 watts, 15 watts. No, it now sees that the other 2 batteries are full, which I can show you. So this one is full and the other one is full. And now it's not confused anymore, and it's charging at the correct 45 watts. So, as you can see, 45 watts. So yeah, I hope this helps DJI solve this problem, because I think the dual charging still has some issues. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.